welcome to Kidmin Talk number 205. I'm your host, Pastor Karl Bastian, the creator of Kidology.org, where our mission is to equip and encourage you in your children's ministry journey. Today's episode is an Ask Karl Anything edition, where I answer your burning questions about children's ministry that you send in to Karl@KidminTalk.com. That's Karl with a K. Today's questions are about teaching the Bible creatively while balancing fun with depth, reaching irregular attenders, getting more men involved in children's ministry, and inspiring kids to invite their friends. But first, we're kicking things off with a special interview with Kevin Downs, the CEO of Kingdom Story Company, about their brand new film, Unbreakable Boy, that's hitting theaters on February 21st. You don't want to miss it. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and let's talk Kidmin. Hey everybody, it's always a joy to get to kind of hang out with you a little bit, and I do love getting those emails from you. Again, that's Karl with a K at KidminTalk.com. Hey, this week was President's Day, so don't miss my new article about our family's relative, good old Honest Abe, and the children's ministry lessons that we can learn from him that I just posted. You can find it at Kidology.org/Honest Abe. You might be wondering, how are you related? I thought President Lincoln didn't have any direct descendants. Well, you would be right, he doesn't. But my father-in-law, who's with the Lord now, he was a descendant from the Hanks side, Lincoln's mom. So my wife does have some presidential blood in her. That's why here at our house, her home office is oval shaped. No, I'm just kidding. But anyway, let's dive into our special guest who I see is on the line. So let's see if I can switch over here to the interview. Hey, and now on the program, we've got Kevin Downs. How you doing there, Kevin?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. Thank you so much for joining me today. And I am so excited about this film. I got to see a pre-release of it. And I've got to say that I am so thankful for this film. As a grown-up kid with special needs and the father of a child with special needs, not to the extent in either case of what this film deals with, but just as a dad, I could so much relate to this film. I don't want to give away any spoilers, but I'll just say that scene with mom and dad in the closet playing hide and go seek and saying, do we go out or do we just keep hiding? What made me laugh and almost moved me to tears. Just a wonderful film. And so I'm excited to give you an opportunity to tell our audience a little bit about it. Folks, this is Kevin Downs. He is the CEO of it's Kingdom. I don't want to say it wrong. The name of your ministry is?
Kingdom Story Company is the name of our company. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Well, in the little bit of time that we have, tell us how this story came about into production, and then just your heart for what you hope that it accomplishes. And then when my time with you is up, I will continue to share what my hope is for this film as well.
Yeah, I've been a movie producer for 30 years, and this is another one of our recent really great films that have connected with audiences. We had a movie called The Best Christmas Pageant Ever, which came out during Christmas.
Yes.
We've done a movie called Jesus Revolution, a movie called Unsung Hero. I Can Only Imagine was another one of my films. Really crowd-pleasing films that showcase the power of the gospel and usually true life stories, though Christmas Pageant was a book. And that end up climaxing with this rush of hope. And people will walk out of our films really just encouraged about life. They'll get to see an example of trials and hardships and how to overcome those hardships in a way that might help them maybe battle a certain situation or a hardship or a relationship that they're going through in a unique way through the power of these true stories. And so The Unbreakable Boy is yet another one. It's a true story that was brought to us actually about 5 or 6 years ago. It's in a book. It was in a book format by the actor Peter Facinelli, who actually is in this film as well. He plays Pastor Rick. And we were just so inspired by this story of this young man named Austin. He's like 12 years old. and he's got this rare brittle bone disease called osteogenesis imperfecta, and he's autistic, which basically means his bones are made of chalk, and yet his unsatiable desire for life and his thirst for life is so extraordinary that whoever he comes around, people are just infected by him, because he has such a love for people, a selfless love for people. And so we get to see his family's journey through his lens, and how mom and dad kind of struggle through the diagnosis of this brittle bone disease, and who Austin is. And yet what they find out is the biggest impact that they made on Austin's life was just being his parents, because he had such an impact on them. And so it's a movie that will make you laugh. It'll make you cry. It's going to want to make you hug somebody, take a family member, bring a box of Kleenex, and you're going to have a good time at the movie theater.
Knowing what the story was about from the trailers, it's very much about the son, it's about the parents. In some ways, and you might disagree, I think in many ways it's about the father's journey, how
Yeah,
he ended up in this marriage and ended up father, some of his personal struggles in this. One of my favorite aspect of the film, and I'm not going to spoil it, but I just want people to know there is more to this film than is given away in the trailers. In fact,
that's
there's
right.
a character that is my favorite that I'm not going to say that I think she's seen once. Now you know it's a he. Just seen once in the trailers that I think is just gold, that moved me to tears. It's an aspect of the film that is just so powerful that after it's come out, after people have seen it, I look forward to talking about again
Yeah,
because this movie works on so many layers. It works
right.
as dealing with kids with special needs. It deals with marriages, dealing with tough challenges. So folks who don't have this in their life, this is for all types of marital struggles and all kinds of life challenges. And would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean it's a relationship movie. It's a movie
Yes.
about selfless love. I mean, we see it all throughout, whether it's the father and the mom, or whether it's the son and the father, and the son and the mom, or the son and his brother, or the kids and the bully at school. I mean, there's these examples of selfless love that just portray throughout the film. That no matter what hardships kind of life throws at you, how we respond and how we react in those hardship situations ends up helping to define the trajectory of our life as we go through them. For Austin, the young man that the movie is about, a glass isn't necessarily half empty or half full. It's got water. And he
Amen.
looks at the he looks at the fact, what are you talking about? We got water. This is amazing. you know. And so I just love his outlook and his perspective on life. It's very infectious. And when you produce a movie, you end up watching a movie 50 to 100 times throughout the making of it, and getting just every detail right. This is a movie I don't get tired of. I can't wait. Tonight's actually our premiere, and I can't wait to sit through it with the audience and just let people enjoy it and be around it. It's one of those movies you want to see with a group of people, because you want to just experience people feeling good and have the goodness and all the feels that this movie delivers.
It was one of those films where I went into it because of who made it. I knew it would be good, and
Yeah.
yet it impacted me in ways and in layers that I did not anticipate. And so, I'm always telling people support Christian films. People complain about Hollywood, and then they say, "Well, wait till it comes out." But this is not just go to support Christian films. This is something that will impact people. I believe will change people. And I love how it's evangelistic. There was a time when evangelistic films meant the preacher would get up at the end and give
Right.
the salvation message in the film. And while the motive was right, I don't know that it always was effective. The way you portray the journey toward needing God, being open to God, and the way God reveals himself to the Father in this movie is so powerful and unique. And I don't think the gospel's really been shared in a film before
Mm.
the way you do in this film. How did that come about without spoiling it?
Well, look, I mean,
Uh,
the story of Jesus is one of selfless love, right? Jesus died on
yes,
the cross and went through the pain and agony of being crucified as an act of selfless love. And so this film itself is literally a parable of all these selfless love
yes,
stories. And so the gospel is so prevalent. Of course, in the story, we actually hear towards the end where Scott credits Jesus for actually the repair of his life journey. And there's meaning there, and there's hope there. And so the truth of that is definitely present. But the fact that in an hour and a half, we're able to actually give examples of what selfless love really is and how that can manifest itself, and how you can experience victory within that, I think is what makes the film so beautiful. And it was a true story. The stuff is, I was with Scott Lorette the last couple of weeks promoting the movie. I asked him yesterday, I'm like, okay, tell me how much of this really isn't true, even though I kind of knew the answer. I just wanted to bait him along. He goes, man, what are you talking about? It's pretty much all true. I mean, it's literally so excited about it. The family's so excited about it. He's like, it's just incredible how you guys were able to make this into a compelling film in an hour and 40 minutes or so. And we're just so honored and blessed to have our story told. And their hope really is that it just touches people's lives.
well, my audience is primarily children's pastors, Sunday school
Mm.
teachers, those who work with kids. What would be your word to them, in supporting the film, but also implementing the message of the film in how they minister to kids, to parents who have kids who have special needs or who just have challenges. I just want to end by giving you that chance to speak to them, challenge them, encourage them. I'll give you that final word.
Yeah, look, I know this because I got three sons, 11, 15, and 16. And so a big issue at school today is the topic of bullying.
Mm.
And this film addresses it head on. It's one of the many, many themes of this film. And so this is a true life example where if kids watch this, I know my kids did, where they see the example of bullying, typical bullying play out, but then yet there's resolution and resolve
Yeah,
that kids can adopt and say, you know what, I could do that. I could selflessly do what Logan did in this movie and literally bring the bully in closer and selflessly love this young man, this
yeah,
kid. And
powerful.
that was all started because of Austin. And Austin was the sort of the spark there where Logan thought he was defending his brother. His brother goes, oh man, I just want to love him because I feel sad for him because
Beautiful.
he really didn't get Christmas. It's beautiful. Oh my gosh, it brings tears to my eyes. And so that is played out in the movie. So my encouragement to youth pastors, go take your kids to see the movie, if only because it addresses a very important topic that your kids are going through at school, which is that bullying subject.
Yeah, and just in closing, I'll say what you've illustrated in this short conversation is this movie has something for everyone. I mean, it has
That's right.
a message for kids, it has a message for families who can relate to this family, but also it has a message to those who are struggling and those who are wondering, does God see me? Does God
Right.
understand? Does God care? And a message to all of us that there are people around us. We may be doing okay, but there are hurting people around us, and they need our care and our support. So
That's right.
this film is coming out February 21st. Is that correct? And
February 21st, only in theaters. So you got
only
to
in
go to a
theaters.
theater. So
So
check
where
it
can they
out.
go to learn more?
Yeah, I mean, the Unbreakable movie, the Unbreakable Boy.movie. You can check out showtimes. However you check out your movie theater showtime, you will find it. But go and check it out this weekend if you're looking for a great movie that can be applicable to your family's circumstances. Go check this one out. It's a movie from Kingdom Story Company and Lionsgate, and you're gonna love it.
Thank you so much for your time and for your investment in the kingdom and telling these great stories that transform lives. Appreciate it
All
so
right.
much.
Thanks, Carl. Have a good day. God bless, man.
You too. Well, that was a treat. And I am very excited about Unbreakable Boy. As I said in the interview, I went to the movie expecting a great movie, but it was fantastic. I laughed, I cried, and I genuinely was changed by that film. So I don't want to repeat things that were said in the interview. I do just want to emphasize that I do really want to encourage you to go see that film. And a couple podcasts ago, I offered some free tickets, and some of them are unclaimed. So if you would like a free ticket to Unbreakable Boy, all you have to do is drop me an email, Karl@KidminTalk.com, and say, send me a ticket. And if there's any left, when I get your email, I will send you a free ticket to the movie. So enough about that. Let's dive into our Ask Karl Anything questions. And boy, have I been getting some good ones. And so I've been saving them up. And so I'm going to dive into some today. So two, I am going to combine together. So Lindsay, a kids director, wrote to me, Pastor Karl, your podcast has been so practical. But she asked, what are some creative ways to teach the Bible so kids actually understand it and apply it? Great question. And then Amanda, she's also a kids pastor. She writes, your podcast is so refreshing. I feel like our ministry either leans too much on fun or too much on deep teaching. How can we find the right balance? Oh, I love that question, and I love your desire to be fun, to make church a place that kids want to be, but not make it about fun, to make it something that is purposeful. As I always say, fun is not the goal. Fun is a vehicle to deliver the goal, and the goal is to pass on the gospel, to lead kids to Christ. But people often forget that the Great Commission was not just to go into all the world and make disciples. People forget the second half of the Great Commission. Look it up. It is then to teach them everything I have commanded you. There is a Christian education component to the Great Commission, and that is as important as leading them to Christ. You know, we don't give birth to a baby and then just say good luck, right? We feed the baby, we train the baby, we raise the baby, all right? We don't hand them off until they're a fully grown child, right? That's why some end up living with mom past when they should, because they're not ready for the world, right? And so we want to make sure that we are discipling our kids and raising our kids and training our kids so that they finally can be a fully developed, mature Christian ready to live for Christ. So how can we do this? Well, please, if you're not subscribed to my podcast, subscribe, go back through the podcast, because I've gone in depth on this. I have whole episodes on this, but I'll just give you 4 bullet points. Number 1, teach like Jesus taught. Teach visually, teach interactively. Make sure that your teaching is in a style that engages kids. You know, kids' minds, we don't use screensavers much anymore, because screensavers used to literally save the screen, you know, because if something was on a screen too long, it would burn into the plasma and it would become permanent on the screen. And so these screensavers would kick on and they would just move things around in order to save the screen. And they kicked on when there was nothing active going on. And I used to often say that kids have these internal screensavers. If they are not receiving stimulus, something inside is going to kick in and they're going to start thinking about what they're going to do after church. They're going to start thinking about their favorite movie or TV show or toys, and there's going to be this internal screensaver, and they're looking at you, but they're not really there. There's this internal screensaver playing, and you have to nudge them somehow with curiosity or with humor or with something visual that will tap them, like we used to tap our mouse or our keyboard to make that screensaver go away so that they would re-engage. And we have to teach that way. You know, my first boss, the great Erwin Lutzer from the Moody Church in Chicago, when I was on staff with him and I was a rookie kids pastor, one of the things he said to me in advice, and it's always stuck with me because it doesn't go the way you think it's going to go. He said, Karl, you've got to teach in such a way that even an adult can understand. And I love that, because you expect him to say,
teach in such a way that even a child can understand, but he said to teach in such a way that even an adult could understand. And that's how Jesus taught. I always say Jesus was the first kids pastor because he used object lessons, right? And he used magic tricks, only they weren't magic tricks because they were miracles. He didn't have to use a trick. He could actually do miracles. So let me encourage you, pick up the Kidology Theorem book on Kidology. It's just kidology.org/theorems. I know it's a tricky word to spell. It's Theorems, theorems. It's like the or ems. Every time I type it, I have to go the or ems. But it is loaded with practical ideas and principles for teaching kids creatively. All right. And I have to say, if it does sometimes come down to the curriculum. A lot of curriculum is taught by people who, when I used to try to all kinds of different curriculums, I was like, do these people even teach children? Or are they just in a cubicle somewhere writing curriculum? And so It Bible Curriculum, and it's itbiblecurriculum.com, or it's just kidology.org/it. I have to tell you, it's not just written by me. It's written by me and a team of full-time teaching every Sunday kids pastors. And so it is written by people who actually have to get up in front of children on Sunday and engage them and keep their interest. And so that's why it is fun and it is creative and the games actually work. But it's also loaded with scripture and it includes the gospel. And I'm not going to go into a commercial, but make sure the curriculum you use, whether it's the It Bible curriculum that I write with a team of kids pastors, or whatever you use, and there are other wonderful curriculums out there, make sure that it is creative and that it has the Bible in it and it is written by people who actually teach kids and know kids, because sometimes your curriculum is just not good and it may be something you need to reevaluate. And then when it comes to the second question that says, too much fun or too much deep teaching and how can you find the right balance, I would say part of it is you have to earn the right to be serious. By being fun and by being crazy and by laughing at the kids and being silly, there's a point at which you're building a relationship with the kids by connecting with them that then you can get serious. And there's times that I've pulled my stool out into the middle of the room. I've had the kids kind of gather in. And I've literally said to them, hey, you guys know I like to have fun. You guys know that, I let you guys get a little crazier than maybe even your teachers do at school. But right now I need to get serious. And I need to talk to you about something. And I need your attention right now because this is serious. And then and I'll talk about a topic. I'll talk about something in the culture. I'll talk about, and then I'll preach pretty hard, and I'll start to talk about one of my principles, like what's popular is not always right, and what's right is not always popular. And I won't use a puppet or an object lesson or a magic trick or anything. I'll just share from my heart something that I really want them to listen to and to understand and know. And I'll have every child listening to me. Now, I can't start a lesson that way, and I can't talk that way for 40 minutes. But I can get a good, solid 5 to 8 minutes. 10 would be pushing it, but usually it's 5 to 6, maybe 7 minutes where I can do some hard talking to them. But it's after I've had them laughing hysterically, playing crazily, because I've earned that right to get deep with them. All right. So the object lessons and all that's important. My third point would be I don't use object lessons because they're fun. I use them because they're memorable. That's why Jesus used so many object lessons and did so many comparisons. There's a whole podcast on object lessons. Just go back through and look for it. I'll just tell you one quick story. One of my favorite object lessons is the toothpaste one, right? And in that podcast, I'll talk about how I blow podcast up. So there's an old object lesson that words are like toothpaste. Once you squirt them out, you can't put them back in. And so I do a huge game where I get all the kids up there and a bunch of kids, 4 to 6 kids, and I give them all these tools. And I do part 1 is the race to empty the toothpaste tube. Part 2 is to try and get it all back in. And I make a huge mess out of it. And then we talk about how that's how our words are. Sometimes we say something in anger, and then and we just can't get the words back in. Well, I had a girl who experience that object lesson. And I honestly don't know whether she was one of the kids up on stage or whether she was a spectator who just watched it. But several years later, she was actually a teenager in youth group. But she came up to me after church and she said, Pastor Karl, can you talk for a minute? And I said, sure. So we sat down, and she had a youth pastor, but she came to me. I'm just saying, I'm going to leave it at that. But she came to me and she said, Pastor Karl, I squeezed the toothpaste out with my best friend. And then she went on to explain how she had said some hurtful things to her friend, and she knew she had damaged the relationship. And I coached her through how to own it, how to apologize, how to begin the process of reconciliation with her friend. But just the fact that she said, I squeezed the toothpaste out with my best friend. She remembered that object lesson. It made a memory. If I had just talked about words years ago, she would have forgotten that lesson. But that object lesson made it memorable to her. So lastly, I want to tell you, Kidology is loaded with resources. So here's what I'm going to do. CD-ROMs are kind of a thing of the past, right? I know a lot of you are like, what's a CD-ROM? Okay, you young folks. And some of you may not even have a CD-ROM player. But here's what I'm going to do. I have got a bunch of CD-ROMs of the Kids Church Cookbook, which is like a 150-page training manual with videos of me in the kitchen cooking show. They're really funny. And I'm not going to tell you all about it. You can go to kidology.org/cookbook. But I will send a CD-ROM of the Kids Church Cookbook free to anyone. All you have to do is, well, free, I'm going to mail it for free, but just go to kidology.org/donate, make a donation to Kidology. Just help us out. That is a $60 resource, but you can literally send me $1. I think they cost me $1 to mail. So I'm basically saying cover the shipping. Send me $1, send $5, send $10, send $1 million, whatever you want, and I will send you a free Kids Church Cookbook CD-ROM. It is all about teaching creatively how to start a kids crew. I mean, it's loaded with information. The training videos are about object lessons and magic and games and puppets and balloons. It's a wonderful resource, but I think I have 500 of these CD-ROMs in my office, and I would love to get rid of them. So you'll have to find your own CD-ROM, but I will send you the CD-ROM, all right? Let's move on to the next question, all right? This comes from Chris. He's a kids ministry director is his title, and he writes, Pastor Karl, your podcast keeps me sane. I don't know if that's possible with us kids pastors, but I'm glad to hear that it's at least helping. He says, we have a lot of families who only come once a month or less. How can we encourage more consistent attendance without making them feel guilty? All right, that's a great question. I remember years ago, I've been doing this long enough that I remember years ago when, it was the kids of divorce that we were concerned about, who came every other week because they might be with an alternating parent. But the trends have completely changed where even your quote unquote solid Christian families maybe don't even go to church every week. And how do we deal with this? Well, number one, I just have to say, number one, you have to accept this reality. This is a reality. And so I have changed over the years from a memory verse every week to a memory verse for a series, because I didn't want the kids who weren't there every week to be losing out on incentives and contests for memorizing a verse a week. And so I go to a memory verse for the series. It also engrafts it deeper into them when we're working on a memory passage. So I make it a longer passage, but we work on it for the entire series. It's also why when you look at IT Bible curriculum, you're going to notice that most of the series are 8 weeks now. I left behind 4-week series because I started to notice that, we would decorate and costumes and all this stuff for a 4-week series, because it's basically our theme for a month. And kids would be there once or twice. So we'd do this whole cool spy series or Western series or, outer space or whatever. And a kid be there for 1 or 2 weeks of it. And we'd be like, man, that's a lot of work and a lot of energy for a kid to only be there for 1 or 2 of them. And so we went to an 8-week series. And so often I have to remind my volunteers, because sometimes by the end of a 8-week series, they're kind of getting weary of it. And they're kind of getting tired of being a ninja, for 8 weeks or whatever our theme is. And I have to remind them why we do the 8-week series. It's because, it may get old to us a little bit, and we have to kind of keep in the ninja mood or whatever it is. But it's because the kids are not all there for all 8 weeks, and the kids don't really get tired of it. It's us sometimes. Number 2, create an at-home way to connect with your families. It can be really simple, but you got to have some way to connect with your families outside of church that draws them back in, or even ministers to them while they're away. And it can be simple. Mine, check out pastorkarl.com. I started this during COVID, and I just kept it going. And I have a Sunday page, and it gives me a place to post highlight videos and little things that we make for the kids. Some of my puppet videos. If something's really fun on Kids Church, I'll make a like a highlight reel or whatever, and I'll drop it on there. But you can go to pastorkarl.com/Sunday every week, or just go to the homepage and you'll see a button right front center called the Sunday page. You click on that, and it has the take-home paper. It has, discussion questions for parents. It'll have the little watch it video from the curriculum. In fact, some of the IT Bible curriculums interact with pastorkarl.com. I don't do it with all of them because I don't want to make the pastorkarl.com dependent on the IT or vice versa. But a few of them actually use that as the take-home website. But you can use a blog, you can use a Facebook group, you can use social media, you can use an email and just send out a PDF. But you want to have some way of connecting. So as a team, get together and say, what can we do to connect with families that are gone? And then I'm sure your church has a database system, whether you use CCB or use Planning Center. There's a whole bunch out there. I don't want to rattle them off. Our church uses Planning Center. There's a whole bunch. And you can put in queries for families that have attended. You want to make sure they're regular and you don't pester guests. So you say, they have attended at least 4 times in the last 12 weeks, but they've been gone the last 3 weeks, something like that. It's a little tricky to do. I always have to get help from someone else in our office who's better at this stuff than me. But then I get the results, and then I can text these families, I can email them and let them know they're gone, let them know that they were gone, but that we missed them, and use the kid's name in your email or text. They really missed Billy, or Susie's face. Just miss seeing her in the audience on Sunday morning, and that can draw them back, and it's pretty powerful. All right, next question. I only got 2 more. The next one is from Emily, and she's a children's pastor, and she writes, Pastor Karl, thanks for always keeping it real. Well, I try to, and it is real because I'm a kids pastor, and I'm in there every week with you. She said, why is it so hard to get men involved in kids ministry, and how can we change that? That is a great question. Now, first of all, I have to probably give a disclaimer. I'm a guy, and so it might be a little easier for me because I'm a man. So I know some of the ladies might go, well, easy for you to say you're a guy. I'm a lady trying to get men involved in the kids ministry, and that's true. But let me just say, don't make excuses, all right? Getting men into ministry is important. If you're a lady running the kids ministry, you got to get your first champion. That might be your husband. If you're married, get his hiney into the kids ministry and let him know his number one job is to get men to join him in the kids ministry. That it's cool to be a minister in kids ministry. At the Kids Matter conference last year, they had this Kidmin Men shirt. I thought that was cool. Get a bunch of those, make your own. But make it cool to be a man in kids ministry, because men need to recruit men, and it's got to be intentional. All right, you can't be afraid to go up to dads. All right, and don't just have the wives voluntold their husbands. All right, you need to go after men and flat out say to them, hey, our boys need to see men in kids' church. I don't want our boys to have an impression that Christianity's kind of a girl thing, right? And I say, if all they see are women, and we love our ladies, That's wonderful. They're so loving, they're so nurturing, they're so caring, they're so kind. But I don't want their impression of Christianity to be that Christianity is soft and loving and kind and kisses and hugs. Christianity is also fierce, and it's also powerful, and it's also tough, and it's also spiritual warfare. And I want our boys to see both sides of Christianity. And I want them to know that Jesus is for dudes too. And then I say, on a practical side, I just need some men standing around to help with discipline. And I say, I'm not asking you to discipline the boys. I'm saying that when you're in the room, we'll just have less discipline problems. It's kind of like, when dad's around, the boys misbehave less than what they try to get away with when it's just mom, because they kind of feel like, it's mom. I can kind of annoy mom or do stuff behind mom's back. When dad's there, they just tend to behave a little better. And I just talk that way to the guys. But you can also do some manly events, all right? Like I've got a Nerf Wars coming up end of this month, and you can go to Kidology.org/Nerf Wars, and you can get my whole kit, my whole explanation for how I do my Nerf Wars. And I'll get dads approved to help at Nerf Wars. They may never think they could do kids ministry, but they'll come to Nerf Wars because I tell them, you're not standing around. You get to play. Yeah, you get to shoot the kids. Right? You get to shoot the other dads. So I get dads totally approved because they have to go through the whole screening process. So they've got to get background checked, and they've got to fill out the application. They've got to sign the child protection policy, and they got to go through all the hoops, just like the regular volunteers, literally just to help at Nerf Wars. All right. But then after they do Nerf Wars, I'm like, wasn't that fun? Do you realize we have this much fun every Sunday? Okay, we don't get to shoot the kids with Nerf guns on Sunday, but it's almost as fun every Sunday. Why don't you just come check it out? You're approved, so you can check in just like you did at Nerf Wars, and just come to Outpost on Sunday. Check it out. And they come, and they're kind of, just kind of hanging out, doing the wall holder thing at first. And next thing I know, I've got a regular Outpost, or kids' churches, we call it at the Outpost, on Sundays. So go after your men. Be intentional. And ladies, you're going to need a champion. You're going to need a dude who becomes your dude recruiter. Now, he doesn't tell other guys he's a dude recruiter, but you tell him, I need you to be my dude recruiter, because we need men. And our boys, don't be afraid to say it, our boys need men in the classrooms. And that's not just elementary. It's even with the little kids. I got dudes in the 2s and 3s, and I got dudes in the 4s and 5s. Not as many, but we have them. And those kids need them. Last one. All right, this is from Tyler. A dude. Way to go, Tyler. All right. He says, Pastor Karl, you always challenge me to think differently. That's my goal. Thank you. How can we encourage kids to invite their friends to church and to make outreach a natural part of their faith? That's fantastic. All right. Number one, I love this because it's all about reaching the lost. Number one would be celebrate your guests. All right. Make a big deal out of your guests so that when you do have guests, especially if they're brought by kids, celebrate them and include the kids who brought them in the celebration. We use Bible trading cards as an incentive for kids to come, bring their Bible, bring a friend, and we give one bonus one to the kid who brought the friend, not just to the friend. All right. So if a kid brings a friend to church, the kid that brought the friend, let him go up to the prize box. We have a big Rubik's Cube prize box that a friend of mine donated to our Outpost, and it's loaded with prizes, for winning games and things like that. Say, you brought a friend? Awesome! You went into all the world, and you only had to go to your school. Jesus said to go into all the world, and you just had to go to your school, or your block. Go get a prize from the prize box. The way to go. Jesus is proud of you, and let him have a prize for that. And then when we've got the TP Bazooka. Maybe some of you have seen that. You can go to TP Bazooka, Kidology.org/TP Bazooka, and download the plans. It's from Roger Fields, not me. So if we get 3 or 4 or more guests, we fire off the TP Bazooka, and the kids go bananas. So they love it, and I let them bring it up. We start greeting guests. At check-in, by the way, they put a little yellow, I buy 2-inch yellow smiley stickers. So the check-ins put that on the kids so we can easily recognize who our guests are. And if we have more than 4 in a service, then the kids go, TP Bazooka! And so we get out the TP Bazooka and we say, this is how much we love our guests. We celebrate our guests. And I shoot that TP Bazooka off. We recently mounted a iPhone camera mount, a phone mount on the end of a TP Bazooka. So you'll see those on my social media, so we can actually film the TP shooting out and the kids all jumping up and screaming. And TP goes everywhere. And then all you have to do is every kid gets a sucker today if the TP's cleaned up in 10 seconds. And so I start my 10-second countdown. They're all picking up all the TP, trying to get in the trash can. They never get it in 10 seconds. So when I get to 1, then I'm like 0.9, 0.8, 0.7, 0.6, 0.5, and we get it all cleaned up. Every kid gets a sucker. And so we are celebrating guests. So kids want to bring their friends to church. But there's other things you can do. Often you do drawings at special events for prizes. I do drawings for prizes in 2s. So your drawing slip, don't just do drawing slips with names. Make your drawing slip the name of the kid who brought a friend and the friend. And then buy your prizes in pairs. I mean, at big events, I've given away 2 bikes, 2 scooters, 2 of everything, 2 video game systems, 2 whatever. Buy everything in pairs. Because that way, if Billy, we always use Billy and Susie, don't we? But Billy brings Johnny to church. If Billy gets a prize, Johnny can feel used. Like, well, I came to church, but he got a prize. Well, that was great for him. I didn't get nothing. Or Johnny gets the prize and Billy's like, well, nice for him. I brought him, I got nothing. Well, if you buy 2 bikes or 2 whatevers, they both go home with 2 bikes and can ride the bikes together, or scooters, or whatever it is. And so do your prizes in pairs. Another thing you can do is friend is free. In fact, our Nerf Wars that's coming up, there's a fee for the Nerf fair, the Nerf War, but right in the registration, there's a discount code FRIEND. And if you bring a friend who's never been to High Point Kids, you can bring them for free. So we just up the price a little bit because we know that probably a third of the kids are going to be brand new. And we get them to come to church for the first time. And so bringing a friend for free is a powerful way to get kids to bring their friend that may not want to come on Sunday, church is weird, whatever, but they'll come to a Nerf Wars. And then they make friends. They find out the kid's pastor's not weird like all the pastors in the movies. He's actually kind of a funny guy, and they want to come back on Sunday. And then have Super Sundays. Have Sundays that are different. Bible Curriculum is got Super Sundays built into it. So and you can go to kidology.org/Super Sundays to see a list, whether it's Bible Baseball, which I just posted, the Super Bible Bowl, which is like super football, the brand new Paper Airplane Fair that I just did, Bible Boot Camp, there's a Bible Ninja Warriors, there's a Bible-O-Rama, that we do an annual candy pancake Sunday, the Sunday nearest Thanksgiving, which is huge. Lots of guests come for that. The Great Escape, it's like a church escape room for Easter. It ends up explaining the whole story of Jesus' life. So it can be done at Easter, can also be done at Christmas. There's a whole bunch. But you do those special Sundays and you promote them, then kids want to bring their friends. And I also do these on those typically low attendance Sundays. If you think attendance is going to be down, do a Super Sunday. Attendance might still be down, but it won't be down as much as it would have been. All right. So thank you so much for writing me at Karl at KidminTalk.com. As I often say, you can shape the show. So ask me anything, and I'll do my best to answer it on the show and to help equip and encourage you in your kids' ministry. Remember, I'm in this with you every week, every Sunday. You're not alone. You're part of a global team that is reaching and teaching kids for Jesus, which, as we know, is the ripest harvest for the gospel. So remember what Paul told us in Galatians 6:9. Do not grow weary, for you will reap a harvest if you do not give up. My friend, don't give up. You're not alone.